Call the recess meeting to order. Let the record show that all aldermen are present. Invocation. Stephen, can you do the invocation for us? And Alderman Burgess, would you do the Pledge of Allegiance? Please stand.
Everybody please bow your heads. Hold on just a second. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of Ocean Springs. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need a motion to accept the agenda? Second by Mr. Flagg, second by Mr. Cox. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Tonight we have a couple of presentations and one proclamation. The first presentation is going to be presented to us by Miss Mary Beth Geiser, who is the reigning Miss Capital Cities teen. So her presentation is going to be on Mississippi Organ Recovery Agency.
Okay, so while I'm talking, my mom's going to pass around a couple pictures of me and my pops. Good evening. My name is Mary Beth Geiser, and I'm your new Miss Capital Cities teen. Thank you so much for having me tonight to share my story about how passionate I am about organ donation. I've been so fortunate to partner with the Mississippi Organ Recovery Agency, also known as MORA, to inform and encourage others to receive the ultimate gift of life. I would have never gotten the chance to meet my pops without someone selflessly donating their organs. Because of a heart transplant, my pops lived an extra 27 years. Unfortunately, this is not the case for everyone. Did you know that 17 people die each day waiting for an organ? This year, as Miss Capital Cities teen, and hopefully as Miss Mississippi's teen, I want to empower people to save lives by checking the box to become a registered organ donor. In a few minutes, I will share a presentation with some eye-opening statistics, and I hope that at the end of the presentation, you too will check the box to become a registered organ donor. Let me tell you a little bit about my passion for organ donation. My grandfather, who I called Pops, and who many of you know as Walter Ryan, a lifelong OS resident and one of the voices of Greyhound football, was diagnosed with a heart condition called cardiomyopathy, also known as an enlarged heart, in his early 40s. He had no chance of survival without a heart transplant. Back in the 80s, a heart transplant was a huge deal as it was a relatively new procedure. Fast forward to June 14th, 1987, this was the day that changed my family for the best. This was the day my grandfather received the call to let him know a heart had been matched for him. My Mimi often tells the story of racing over to Ochsner's Medical Center in New Orleans, seeing the helicopter land with a team of doctors carrying my pops' new heart in an igloo cooler. She often refers to it like a scene from a movie. His transplant was very successful as he lived an extra 27 years with a donor's heart. And it was a lady's heart for that matter. For all of those extra 27 years, my pops would counsel those who may be on a transplant list, participate in the U.S. transplant games in table tennis, golf, and bowling, speak to school classrooms across the coast about his transplant, and even do wild and crazy things such as ride roller coasters and whitewater raft just to prove that his new heart wasn't going to stop him. The most important thing my pops did after his transplant until the day he passed was to share his personal testimony and give others the inspiration of becoming organ donors. He always believed in the quote, "Don't take your organs to heaven, because heaven knows we need them here."
So I am Kelly Geiser. I'm Mary Beth's mom. My dad was Walter Ryan. I'm stepping in tonight for Tricia Bird, who is the community outreach organizer for the Mississippi Organ Recovery Agency. She normally comes with Mary Beth, but unfortunately she could not attend. So this is the presentation we've been giving. So next slide, please. Just out of curiosity, how many have the red heart on their driver's license right now? So if you don't know what the red heart on your driver's license means, it is that you are a registered organ donor, or you have made that talk with your family that you would wish to be an organ donor after.
Next slide, please. So as of the year 2022, research from the Organ Procurement and Transplantation Network, they exceeded 42,800 transplants. They surpassed 25,000 kidney transplants for the first time. And they also set all-time records for liver, heart, and lung transplants. And you can see, or next slide. And you can see there's a growing health crisis, and among those, waiting lists, actually receiving transplants, and those who are donors. So from 1991 to 2019, over 23,000 to 112,000. And then in transplants, there was over 15,000, and then close to 40,000. And then from 6,953 to over 19,000. Okay, next slide. Raise your hand if you're a Saints fan. So, just to show you, the New Orleans Superdome holds 83,000 people, and that's actually 17,000 less than the national waiting list. Next, please. So, you need to register because actually 95% of the U.S. adults support organ donation, but only 54% are actually signed up as donors. So, every 9 minutes, another person is added to the waiting list, and only 3 in 1,000 people die in a way that allows for organ donation.
This next slide talks about there are over 100,000 people that are on the waiting list for organ transplants, and nearly 60% of those are also come from multicultural communities. So that you can kind of see the statistics on everybody that's needing a transplant. The next slide talks about why is organ donation so rare. You have to meet minute qualities to become an organ donor. So to become an organ donor, you have to pass away in a hospital. You have to be placed on some kind of mechanical support, life support, things like that. Or you have to have an irreparable neurological injury, something where blood flow is still being sustained.
Next slide, please. So waiting today, there are over 100,000 people on the waiting list in the U.S. And of that list, there are over 88,000 people are waiting on a kidney. So in total, there are 493 waiting. In Mississippi. And then 33 waiting for a liver, 16 waiting for a heart, and kidney/pancreas, there's 8. So one donor can save 8 lives, and also one person can donate up to 8 life-saving organs. And on average, 17 people die every day waiting for an organ transplant.
So there are 2 types of donors, which probably a lot of people are familiar with. There are living donors, and those are people that are still living, obviously, but they're capable of donating a kidney, a lung, a portion of their liver, pancreas, or intestines. And there's also the deceased donors, which document, and that's why it's so important for you to have the conversation, either to have the heart on your driver's license or to have the conversation with your family of your end-of-life wishes. Okay, and so again, one organ donor can save up to 8 lives. And although my father was just a heart transplant recipient, it was just, I know just from our history that his donor also donated other organs.
One tissue donor can enhance over 75 lives, and that includes corneas, skin, tendons, bones, and valves. And tissue donation can dramatically improve the quality of life for recipients or even save lives.
The next slide talks about, again, the impact of tissue donation and just some statistics from last year, and I know this has grown, but from January to June from last year, there were over 2,000 tissue grafts done, which were life-saving, and I know that number has increased since then. The next slide talks about, it's just not that hard to register. So you can always register online at, if you've never looked at the MORA website, it has some really great information. So the Mississippi Organ Recovery Agency, you can actually get on your hunting and fishing license, which was new to me. I've learned through this, which is kind of cool. My families are big hunters and fishers, so that's kind of cool. And then, of course, you can talk to the DMV when you go.
So this was a baby Lily. She actually weighed 25 pounds, and 12 of that was her liver. And next slide. And then this was Lily on her wedding day, and that day was actually her 24-year anniversary of her transplant. And this little boy, KJ, was a heart recipient. Okay, that's it. Thank you again for having me this evening. I truly appreciate your time and attention for letting me share my service initiative with all of you. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mary Beth. That was interesting. I knew your grandfather well, so I think you're on the right track there, and we're proud that you represented Ocean Springs and won.
And I have your pictures.
The next presentation is going to be by our down the street neighbor, Glenn Miller. Glenn did a painting of the city hall. Do we have that in? Mm-hmm. And he's going to talk about the painting. Maybe even sell a few of them.
Yeah, I'm going to pass the original around. This is by but just feel the paper and the quality, and also the plate that I do on a zinc plate that's etched with acid. Something out of craft I've been doing for maybe 50 years. I think now more than 50 years. But anyway, you can pass that around too. Yeah, well, Glenn Miller, 417 Dewey, right down the street. Local artist, been doing art here for over 40 years. And I'm proud to have done a lot of the historic places in the city. And that was one of my goals, to kind of preserve history of town and preserve the old buildings. There I am on my bike. It's ironic that I'm considered a legend, even though I'm still alive. That's kind of a, I wonder where that's going to go. But anyway, Patty, been suggesting to me to do an etching of or do a rendering, I guess, at the City Hall for a couple of years, right? And I avoided it. I guess I didn't think it would be much of a seller. Nobody, where you go pay your water bill. Anyway, but I said, well, it's got some history to it. And so I figured I could make a kind of a lesson out of it and teach more about Ocean Springs history. So I started. And I think the mayor saw me outside sketching one day. And I sketched it by hand and, did a pretty good drawing, thought, accurate, and then began to make the plate. Well, it ended up, I got really involved in putting in a lot of the history and context of the building, and actually the history of all the places where the City Hall had existed in different spots around since the town was incorporated. So there I am, actually working on the drawing itself. First I had to do a complete drawing in graphite. So I got that. And then I started researching my big project was researching all the mayors. There I am getting ready to print it. I actually have etched the plate with acid. And so it's all engraved in there, as you see on this heavy plate. And it's an old process going back to the Middle Ages, actually, where nothing's really changed since Rembrandt and all the old masters. So I'm heating up the plate, so I put on this real sticky kind of ink, very thick, and so it's quite a hand process. I make the ink myself, so that's involved. So I have to heat up the plate to kind of help get it off what I do is I apply the ink and then wipe it off, and it goes into the engraved lines. So it's basically what you call like an engraving or an etching, which is really actually how our money is printed and engraved. So there I am, giving a little lecture to the kids. And there's my ramshackle studio, you see. And I use all the materials that have been used by etchers for hundreds of years, really. That's the type of a cloth that you wipe the ink off with, called tarlatan. And, I did that. And this is a process I learned in New Orleans years ago. I studied under a famous etcher in New Orleans. And so kind of like removing the ink there and trying to force it into the lines, because it's what they call an intaglio process, where the ink is not on the surface, like the linoleum prints of Walter Anderson. They're on the ink's on the surface. The ink is under the surface. So I keep wiping it kind of carefully. Don't want to wipe all of it out. It's kind of takes a little knack. And so, long, there we go. Hopefully get it to where I just have to feel it out. There it is, yeah. Just enough, wiped enough that the ink is still in lines. And then I have this press that I've had for years. One of the things that survived Katrina, because it's all iron and steel, so I was able to restore that. And I had done much etching since Katrina. I was very active up till Katrina, then I kind of wiped out, with my studio. So I did some other kind of art for a while, but I'm trying to get back into it. I think it has a value. It's a unique process. And I have this dampened paper, very high quality French rag paper, 100% cotton, and then I cover it with these felt blankets, which the idea is that when it goes under all this pressure with this rolling press, it actually presses the paper down into the ink lines. So you pull it out sort of like a mold. It gives it the quality that etching's famous for. Much different than a reproduction, and because it's no two are really the same. You don't wipe it exactly the same each time. And yeah, I had that press built right here in town. I actually used the tech building over. What was it? The Keys Technical building. They were doing ironwork, metalwork, and so I gave them this project, and they built it for me. Yeah. So that's it takes some effort. Now this is just making one print. It seems kind of ridiculous in modern age. You go that much trouble to make one print. It takes around 5 to 7 minutes to do one. So my record printing would be like 12 an hour. So it's time consuming. And so now I think I pulled the paper off the plate. that's where the plate is done reverse, and it's face up, and when the paper when poured off, it's right side up. And so you have to do it slowly because you're actually pulling the ink right out of the deep engraved lines. So, and you get a certain richness from that. The ink stands up on the plate, on the paper. It's kind of a thicker lined ink. And voila, there it is. So that would be one, and I'd have to start over again. I start over again from the beginning. I guess one of my purposes here today is to talk to, the board. I'd like the board to consider maybe, purchasing some for, and make it an official, perhaps an official rendering of the city. I could use that to help me, in selling these. But if the city would, I feel like it would be a good item for the city to have for retirement gifts, for gifts to dignitaries coming to visit and things like that, and basically just to show that you support a living artist. There's a lot of dead artists around here, but I'm still kicking. You know me, I'm a legend, so it must be creeping up on me, Anyway, is that? Everybody confirmed about that?
Glenn, how much are you print?
We agree that you're very impressed.
How much are the print?
It is an impression. Yeah, that's
Glenn, Bobby was asking how much the prints are.
Well, see, I wanted to make the city a deal, you saw my paper, I'm going to be a businessman here with this. Actually, I'm trying to sell for $150 with $150. Hand colored, and that'd be the edition. I haven't sold any yet. I mean, I've let some people have some artist proofs, what they call, but it's not part of the edition. So I start printing number 1, 1 through 150, like I've done all these other ones. That's how I did these. They all sold out, the whole edition. Now I cancel the plate, so no more can be made. So it has a value. It's better than, like a reproduction, you keep printing with the press. So anyway, there's a price range in there. If the city would buy a quantity, they could get a reduced price and then use them as gifts. Or however you might think of it. But maybe you could have a meeting, a little quorum about it, and, come up with something.
So I was telling Glenn too that maybe that we can also, if he's interested, have them at the Mary C also, since that's where we're going to be selling more like city product.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so if you'd like to do that, we could do that also. He didn't say, but I heard him saying it to Rob earlier, he actually hand paints
I was fixing to
colors.
go there,
Right.
yeah.
You didn't say that because since we did the film the way they did, how you get the color into it.
Each one is gonna have some unique quality because it's hand painted after it's
I've had to do that, and black and whites don't sell that well, and so I had to color them. I started out already doing black and white back in the day, and I'm getting way back starting etching, but now you have to hand color them. So anyway, that's, I'd like to see the city, support me in this, maybe consider it an official rendering of the city hall, city municipal building, and we're in purchase them.
We'll be down for one, Glenn. I'll buy one.
And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take,
Good?
Wait, the mayor's talking. Don't wait yet.
we're gonna go ahead and get a head count for you on who from the city wants one. And we'll send the initial order. And then if you wanna put some, like Patty said, at the Mary C.
And I'll make sure the number 1 comes, the city can be displayed, in the building somewhere.
Is this the number 1? Is this the number 1?
No, that'll be an artist proof.
Okay.
And I didn't start the edition yet. See, I had to proof it, I get it so I could, then I had to do some correcting on it and.
This one is the one you had brought to me that
Right.
day that we did the
Right.
film.
I might,
You want to take it back for now?
Press,
Okay.
yeah.
It's up, we passed it around the room so everybody could see, how at the bottom you have all the mayor's names.
I'll give her number 2, how about that?
Now, you're all gonna want number 1, no. But maybe number 1 could be hung here at
I'll
City
say
Hall.
I'll donate number 1 to the city, okay, how about that?
And I'll take number 2.
All
You made your first sale.
And I also wanna point out, if you notice in
If
this.
Bobby wants one,
Glenn, I want number 4.
And I will number 5.
And I'm gonna get one too from you, Glenn. Also, I wanted to point out that Glenn's stuff is already hanging in, all of the stuff in here is Glenn's, I don't want to say it wrong. I don't know if it's renderings or what.
They're etchings
Etchings.
just like this,
Okay.
this piece here. And I have to thank, who did it, John Gill.
Oh, okay,
John Gill purchased those back
Oh,
in the 90s, before Katrina, somewhere.
okay.
Yeah, so that was a good deal. I gave him a good deal on those.
Well, I appreciate Glenn. I felt like when I asked you to do it, I didn't realize how much work was involved. So then I kind of felt bad with it that you guys came, because I really had no idea that it took so much of your time. But I want to tell you how much I appreciate it. I do think it's great that there is
The
one.
research was really great. And I have to thank my historian friends, Chelsea and Mr. Belande and Mark and Mr. Bowler for all the, history of where the city halls had been located, over the years. Yeah, all right. Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Mr. Glenn, you wanna,
Grab these.
I've got.
So, this month is Human Trafficking Prevention Month, so we've got a proclamation. Carl King was supposed to be here to accept this.
I could give it to him.
Whereas human trafficking is a public health issue and crime that exploits the most vulnerable among us and weakens the health and well-being of individuals, families, and communities across the generations. Whereas more than 20 years since the passing of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, human trafficking still exists, including the forced or fraudulent recruitment, bartering, or transportation of people for labor. Whereas human trafficking can happen to anyone, but certain populations are disproportionately at risk, including people affected by abuse, violence, poverty, unstable living situations, social disconnection, or discrimination. Whereas people can be trafficked in person or online in industries such as restaurants, domestic work, construction, agriculture, and factories, and by strangers or someone they know, including employers, partners, and family members. Whereas human trafficking can be prevented by building individual community and societal understanding and resilience, reducing social inequities, and addressing the conditions that contribute to exploitation. Whereas through the national effort, Ocean Springs community members are encouraged to join together to raise awareness for those who have fallen victim to human trafficking throughout the month of January. Now therefore we, the Mayor and the Board of Aldermen for the City of Ocean Springs, Mississippi, do hereby proclaim January 2024 as Human Trafficking Month.
I was checking it out. Real quick side note here, we have our new audio and video equipment in the house. Sure we'll get some response back on how it's all working. Understand though, if there's chatter in the room, the people who are actually talking will not be heard. So hopefully this increases some viewership and eliminates any confusion about sound and noise and poor video. So green lights on, we're live. Careful what you say. Next item on the agenda is public
Agenda public comment. The public is invited to address the board for 3 minutes each only regarding issues listed on the agenda. Please identify yourself and the agenda item you are speaking.
Real quick, Bill Moore, important too. I wanted to just thank Mary Beth for coming and doing that presentation on organ donation. As you saw, the majority of those patients waiting are actually kidney transplant patients. And the number one thing you could do to help, besides being an organ donor, would be to go get screened for diabetes and hypertension, because those the vast majority of patients that have end-stage renal disease are totally preventable. And if you can treat your own health by keeping your blood pressure controlled and your diabetes managed, then those patients that have other things that need a kidney transplant will be able to much more easily get an organ because they won't be competing. And it's very preventable. So, go to a health fair, go to your doctor, go somewhere, and you get your blood pressure and your blood sugar checked. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Anyone else who would like to address the board on an agenda item? Yes, sir.
Doug Traps, referring to the lot split. I don't know exactly if this is the time and the place to do it or not. Okay. I bought a property, and other people that are here, they bought a property. We happen to have the same attorney, closing attorney. And that became an issue when I tried to find out some information about this lot split and the access to it. I was assuming it was going to be accessed from Ocean Springs Road. I was told she can't do that. She is not allowed to come off of Ocean Springs Road. It's not, I guess, desired, but it's possible. And her survey doesn't match up with my survey. I've got a lot of questions about that. And I waited 5 weeks to talk to the attorney that closed both lots just to be ghosted by him, and then finally got back with me the Friday before the meeting. So I'm trying to find out some information as to if it's actually a legitimate lot in width. I thought they were supposed to be 100 feet wide. It's not. I just have a lot of questions and haven't been able to get answers. So I'm referring to an attorney that I can't see yet until tomorrow.
Carol?
Yeah, it was on the planning commission. It is here for consent, but there are some questions that probably need to be sorted out before we can make a final.
You want to table it then?
Yeah, I was gonna pull it from consent.
Like I said, those things weren't.
Are you
really
getting your
ever-
answers, you getting your questions answered from the city? Can we not answer the questions?
Well, there was some,
More of a
it's an
legal issue.
oddball lot. It's an oddball piece of
The
property.
Alderman as it's all, there's very different surveys and different opinions about where the lines, actual lines are, so that really does need to be sorted out.
And once it gets sorted out, if it is what it is, no harm, no foul. I just don't understand it yet.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Anybody else?
Good evening, I'm Sandy Cox, and I have a lot at 9200 Ocean Springs Road. That's here for the approval of the lot split, and it has gone through city planning. They've reviewed all the surveys that I presented. That was done by Patrick Martino, and that was just done back in the end of October, and he has reviewed it. Not only the first time that he went over, he's got 25 points of reference for the property. And then he also, there was a question, and it was a deed that was presented from the previous owner. And that was back in 2019. So anyway, Mike McDermott, the attorney that closed both of our loans, he presented an additional deed that was where the city deeded it back to Mr. Belk, I believe. But anyway, I purchased the property in May of 2022 with the intent of splitting the lot because it is 1 acre, has a small cottage on the front, and I cannot do a flag lot from Ocean Springs Road. But according to Patrick Martino, I do have 25 feet of city access, and that is what the Planning Commission has reviewed, and it is off James Road, And that's what I'm asking. And the reason that Mr. Travis has a problem with this, because he's put up this gate blocking off the access to the 25 feet that I have. So I'm asking you to go ahead and approve it, but of course that's up to y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds like a mess. Anyone else would like to address the board on an agenda item? Okay. Moving on to, yes.
You know, you listed, I didn't happen to get an agenda. Thank you. It's the old business, where we're looking to see the urban renewal plan, which we thought were voted down last time.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Rebecca Alston at 117 Pine Drive. ALS. And I guess I'm a little bit confused because then it was like reversed and approved later.
It was voted down, then it was brought back up and approved.
But it wasn't to the public, it was like on a Zoom or something?
No, it was in this board meeting. It was, we just approved the urban renewal area, that was it. We'll have a public hearing later on.
When we have the public hearing, can we get details, you know, for example, like you said, that Pine Drive may become commercial?
Yes, we'll have all those details for you.
Okay, that's pretty critical as far as understanding it, because I don't think anyone has had a chance to see it. When you,
Is that published anyway?
when we are able to see it, and you have the location, at that point, we can, we'll have a bullet list of what this means, the renewal plan, what it covers.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else? Okay. Old business. Adopt a resolution setting up public hearing date and location for the urban renewal plan. So, do we have some suggested dates?
It has to be after February 2nd.
Okay. Bill, Robert, y'all got any?
No, ma'am. I believe the planning commission is we're holding the commissioners together, and they should be available, I think, the 23rd for a special call for their review. And the proposed plan was sent to them, I think, January 2nd, so they have 30 days to review, and that's why the public hearing before the board has to be after February 2nd. So just tonight, you're passing the resolution setting the location of that public hearing and the date and time. And from there, Vicki will publish in the paper, and that will include the proposed plan be available for public inspection as well.
Yeah, I believe Vicki suggested that if we do not have it at a board meeting, then we need to have, just have a public hearing without a board meeting. So,
A regularly scheduled board meeting. If it's at the Civic Center,
at the Civic
I
Center.
don't want it at a
Okay,
regular board meeting.
I think we need it. I think we need to go back to the Civic Center with it. I think we're gonna. So, the date, I mean, I'm open.
So there's a regular board meeting on February 6th, a Tuesday. The rest of that week
See if you're good at
at the Civic Center would be.
Steve, the Civic Center available.
Yeah, any day Wednesday, you know, we have the church, but any day besides that, we're good.
Monday, Thursday, Friday.
If you're asking me, Mayor, I wanna wait till after the verbiage is changed on the redevelopment authority, so don't look to me for a date.
Okay. Anybody else have any ideas on dates?
I'm looking, Mayor.
So what day of the week is church again?
Wednesday.
Board meetings on Tuesday. If it were that week, Monday, Thursday.
So
I don't
have a calendar in front of me. Let's see.
The 13th would be the following Tuesday. The only problem with that is that's a planning commission.
And there's also the school board meeting.
That's Mardi Gras.
That's Mardi Gras.
Oh,
Yeah.
that too.
Are Mondays out?
February 5th, fine.
You can move it to after Mardi Gras.
Oh, that's President's Day. That's President's Day.
What about the 19th?
That's President's Day.
Okay, what about do we have a board meeting on the 20th?
Yes.
22nd.
22nd is open. That's a Thursday. Thursday the 22nd?
At the Civic Center.
Civic Center, is that okay, Will?
That'll be Thursday, a special call Thursday, February 22nd, at the Civic Center.
At what time? 5
o'clock.
5:30.
5:30? Okay.
I'll make the motion to adopt the resolution setting the public hearing date for February 22nd, 5:30 at the Civic Center.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Ippy.
Second.
Second by Ms. Papania.
Let's do a roll call, please.
Roll call.
Aye.
Hey.
Nay.
Aye.
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 Nay.
So what did you do, Ricky? Hey. So we got 4-3. It'll be Thursday, the 22nd of February, 5:30 at the Civic Center. Next item on the agenda is to award solid waste management contract and authorize the publication of cost increase. Robert and Patty.
Gave the motion.
Well, I mean, we can make a motion, but do we want discussion or, I mean, I want to make a motion that we renew the contract with Waste Pro Garbage Collection Services.
It's not a renewal.
Award is somewhat of
Just
a
saying.
renewal, because they're renewing the contract.
So we've got a motion.
Mayor, 1 second. Just for tonight, technically under the law, you can't award the contract before you publish notice for an increase in fees. So for tonight's purposes, the motion would be to authorize the city clerk to publish notice, and then we'll have the resolution, I think 3 weeks is
Then
required.
we'll approve that. Okay.
And then we'll have a resolution after the 3 weeks.
Okay.
Then the motion is to authorize the city clerk to advertise for cost increase for Waste Pro Garbage Collection.
Motion by Mr. Cox.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wade. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Anybody have anything to pull from the consent agenda?
Item R.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item R.
Got a motion by Mr. Ippy.
Second.
Second by Mr. Blackman. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item R, approve a lot split at 9200 Ocean Springs Road, PID number 6012345.000. Applicant Sandy K. Cox. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Based on the information I've heard tonight from the people who showed up as well as our planner, I make a motion to table that until the questions or issues are resolved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Impey, second by Mr. Papania. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is tabled. Moving on to department head reports. Does anyone have anything to pull from the docket of claims?
I make a motion to approve the docket of claims. All expenditures are appropriate and authorized by Lawrence. Read summary on the minutes.
Motion by Mr.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Mr. Cox. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Does anyone have any questions about the sewer adjustments? Is there a motion to authorize sewer adjustments?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Impey.
Second.
Second by Ms. Tanya. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is general public comment. The public is invited to address the board for up to 3 minutes each for a maximum period of 30 minutes. Only 2 speakers will be allowed per side of each issue. Please identify yourself clearly at the podium before speaking. Okay, now moving on to Mayor and Alderman's Forum. Alderman Burgess.
Sarah, Alan, you guys got the spreadsheet, so we'll get together next Monday and chat on that. Or Friday, okay, sorry. Thank you. And Alan, you did say the decorative signs will be in Culleoka 1 starting next week.
I'm hoping he starts on next week.
Outstanding, thank you.
I just have one thing. I got the book from Patty on the parcels of property, and I know we've talked about this before in the past, but those 13 lots that are in Ocean Beach Estates that we have, I'd like to see the board, I'm gonna make a list of all the addresses and hand it out by the next meeting so everybody can go and look at them, but based on the evaluation from the tax assessor and then the money that it costs to, it's a special closing, I don't know. You remember, Robert, what it's called when they get those properties from us, that last one that we did?
I'm trying to, I do recall doing the last one, I just don't remember the exact verbiage.
But they,
yeah, I know we did have to contact the state. It's certainly doable, but it's a process, but we.
and you know, and I know they're really not worth a whole lot, you know, and then by the time you pay that amount, but I would like to see that get put back on the Jackson County tax rolls, and that way somebody owns it, they're keeping them clean, they're paying taxes on it. So if y'all would just consider that for the next meeting, I'll bring those addresses, and we're not gonna vote on anything, but just so you can kind of see where they are and what's involved.
$100,000 a lot, and Bob, it was great to it.
What's that?
You're basically giving them away by the time you do it the way you
Well,
gotta do it.
the thing is, we're never gonna do nothing with them, and I mean, so we're just gonna let them just sit there.
Do we have to maintain them, mow them, clean them?
Well,
Just to
well, there's one thing though, there's one person that has called City Hall several times to get the lot clean that's next to them, you know? And I think that if it comes down to it, if neighbors really wanted to, they could call and make us maintain them, you know?
I think we got, what, $3,000 for the last lot? Is that what it was?
Well, it cost them $3,000 just to do the closing work on it, for the title. I mean, and when you're talking about Ocean Beach Estates, I mean, a good lot with a clear title, I mean, they're getting them for what, 7,000, 10,000, you know?
Okay.
That's it.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Do we have anything?
I want to take a moment, Mayor, and just again thank Mary Beth for her presentation. I don't think there's been anybody in the history of organ donations that got more out of their extended years than Mr. Walter. I mean, anybody that knew him knew that you didn't stand still around him or he was going to leave footprints on your back, because he'd leave you in the dust. He was a great guy. I really appreciate your passion on the subject. I hope you're successful in your awareness raising activities. Good luck with it. That's all I have, Mayor.
I think, you want to stay around for some pictures with the board? If there's not anything else, we entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Who did second? Second by Mr. Wade, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.